So I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I see the connection between one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And we're talking right now about the drone attacks in the Black Sea. But it's not just drone attacks in the Black Sea. To see it in isolation misses a lot of what's happened. So I'm going to go back before the hit on the Kerch Bridge, the second attack on the Kerch Bridge. Before that, Putin he already had an ambition to use grain as a weapon. Doesn't matter that tens of millions of people will be plunged into food insecurity. He was going to use this as a weapon. So he had decided against renewing the grain deal before we actually got to the hit on the Kerch Bridge. Now, the hit on the Kerch Bridge was going to come with or without the African grain deal, the Ukraine-Russia grain deal that would supply grain to Africa, China, other parts of Europe, wherever, okay? So that's independent. But then he used that as a pretext to then go and destroy the grain silos and the ports and Odessa and the Danube River ports and all that. And what he actually did was destroy, as of yesterday, 180,000 tons of grain. Okay. Now, he thought that by destroying Ukrainian grain, getting them off the market, and then cozying up in the Russia-Africa summit to the African states, he would get them to be, maybe swing votes in, get off the neutral side and vote with Russia in the UN, and maybe have cozy deals later on, economic deals, military deals, perhaps that kind of thing. By the way, if at any time you have an aha moment here, give me a like. Okay, that's all I'm asking for this video. Okay, so there is the Russian ambition to use grain. That leads to the African summit, which is coming up. The Kerch is hit. That leads to, during the summit, they're destroying Odessa and the Danube and the ports and all that, right? And that leads to 180 tons destroyed. That leads to then what's going on in the meantime is Moscow is getting hit back because the drone strikes, because while that's going on, Kyiv is answering with drone strike number 5 in Moscow, and it hits this particular building, and it actually was going for, they were being shot down according to the according to RT and Russian state media. They were electronically shot down, but it hit this particular building, which was a government building, which I thought, that's interesting that you shot down and it still hit a government building. Could have just been a fluke. But then the second time, Moscow drone attack number 6, it hit the same building while it's being knocked down. So either that's the weirdest coincidence ever, or somehow that was the target. Okay, that drone strike. And then you had the seaborne attack on a Russian warship just yesterday, and that was actually a very legitimate target. Everyone's going to say it. Now, when you read RT, and I said this, like RT said, yeah, we shot everything down, nothing to hit. They didn't actually say that. But they implied that there were these drone attacks and there were these explosions, and it was like nothing to see here. They implied. They didn't really say that they hit everything, but they made it look like that in these articles. And so then you also have the oiler being hit. Now that's really interesting too, because this was a commercial ship, but it was being used to carry oil to Syria, and it has been used, and it's on the sanction list. And I showed you all that in the last video. If you haven't seen that, go back to that last video. Okay, so things have just escalated and escalated, and it didn't have to, right? But Putin wanted to make it escalate, and he thought he was going to get a real big prize, a huge prize, out of this Russian grain deal being suspended, cozying up to the Africans. We can supply you, and we'll be the supplier to you, and you can have it at maybe a discount or whatever, free grain and free shipping. And now if we don't allow your shipping, then, or the insurance or whatever, then it's on the West because they're keeping you from your free grain. Well, what if you can't get out of the port? So see, that's what's happening now, because while the grain deal was on, Russia was pretty secure. Ukraine was pretty secure. Now that it's off, and they said, well, we can attack any of your ships at any time. And well, Ukraine can say, we can attack any of your ships. And now they have to spread themselves thin. See, that's what's happened here. So it's now dangerous to do business with Russia in the Black Sea. So the insurance rates, who's going to insure the ships, the Russian ships, or ships going to Russian ports to get their oil or whatever? Now remember, their ports, their oil ports are only in the Black Sea and then St. Petersburg, where it ices over in the winter, and then further up in the Arctic, where it's going to ice over most of the time. So it puts Moscow in a real predicament. So you have dangerous to do business, you have insurance issues, you have Russia must now move assets to protect all these ships. So that means that their defense of these ships, the military ships, okay, they knew that the military ships were going to be attacked, right? I mean, everybody understood that. But now they have to defend these other, I don't know, let's say 50 ships, let's use a round number, out there in the Black Sea. And now they have to spread their assets thinner, which means it's more likely that one of these little Sea-Doo looking, like jet ski looking kind of contraptions that they used as a drone, one of these is going to get through because they're spread even thinner. So not just to attack the oiler, but to attack military vessels, it's more likely that that's going to happen. So Russia must move those assets, and then there's less assets to defend their own warships. So either way, if they get through at all, Russia gets a black eye. I mean, that's I've used this example before, and I think this is right. So a couple of high school kids walk onto a middle school playground, and they start, trying to bully these, 7th grade kids. And when they do that, they realize that these 7th graders are fighting back. And, an hour later, they're still fighting, trying to get out of the playground. Well, that's what's happened. Like, it's not a good look when you're this big bad something, and then the one that should have lost so quickly is still fighting with you so much later. And that's what's going on. Okay, so either way, it's a big... an attack on any Russian ship is a big black eye for the Russians. Remember, the Russians dominated the Black Sea, and now it looks like they're on the defense. Okay, that is connecting the dots from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. And if you got an aha anywhere out of this, please give me a like. Thank you for your time. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for the coffees. I hope this helps give you some context. Most of all, thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.